I've been really lucky to work on some amazing excavations, be that in a medieval urban context or in a dryland rural context, but Drumclay is going to stand out. It was like being on fire for 9 months. The whole thing from start to finish it was something I could never have dreamt of being involved in, and yet it was something I'd waited 25 years to do. One of the most, I suppose in a way, dramatic things about Drumclay Crannog is its longevity. Crannog dates from around the 6th, 7th century to about the 17th century, so for about 1,000 years. Crannogs that have been excavated in the past, and particularly medieval crannogs, tend to have much shorter time spans or lifespans. But the thing about Drumclay is once it was established, they did keep coming back to it. We worked down from the latest levels of occupation all the way down to the start of occupation at this particular site. And as we made that journey, we uncovered house upon house upon house. The remains of their buildings, the remains of their fires. We recovered the everyday items they used in their homes. We recovered their rubbish, because effectively the crannog, it was a giant compost heap. So if you can imagine a giant midden full of the things people used on a daily basis and the things that they threw away, and there's some things that they had kept for a long time and may have lost, we found all of those things. You saw this mini village almost on a lake in Fermanagh, and every time we went back out into that site you got a new picture. So every day there was almost a new personality, or every few weeks the site had a different personality. So towards the top of the site, it seemed very late. It seemed that there was only possibly one house, so a very small number of people living on it. But as we moved further down, all of a sudden we'd be dealing with these horizons where it looked like the carpenter ruled, you know. And then the week after that, it was clearly all the finds were indicating that weaving had become very important. So for those few weeks, you just imagine women collecting and processing wool and dyeing wool to create the clothes that they wear on the site. And then as soon as you got used to it feeling like a site full of weavers, it became a site full of coopers, because the remains of the barrels that were never finished, or entire barrels, or their barrel staves would appear. And that the site seemed to take on personalities as we went back in time, very much in terms of led by the types of objects we were finding. We recovered around 5,500 individual objects. Of that number, just over 3,000 represent pottery fragments, so individual shards of pots. The level of preservation was just extraordinary. You'd peel back a layer of a piecey material and you could find bracken that looked like it had been taken down from the hills the day before, but it hadn't. It had been sat there for 600-700 years because it had been used in the insulation in the walls of the houses. And that kind of preservation is not something you see. You don't see the electric colours left in leaves after 2 weeks, let alone 1,000 years, and we did. And so I think that brings you very close to those people in the past, when you get to touch and feel and actually see the same colours and the same materials they saw every day, and it still survived. I think it's likely that Drumclay is going to become the key type site for our understanding of crannogs in Ireland, because the record that was produced and the finds that were recovered and the nature of the material and the nature of the techniques used in the excavation means we have an unparalleled record that will just feed into our understanding of early medieval Ireland like nothing else has before.